Are we live? Welcome to Real Guitar Success Live Training Question and Answer Session. I'm Thomas Michaud. I think you probably knew that. I'm here to answer your question about learning and playing guitar. And please feel free to introduce yourself. Hi, Tim. I'm watching constantly in the chat. At the same time, I'm answering questions that have been pre-submitted ahead of time. If I look over here once in a while, that's because that's where the chat is. See what's going on. Hey, Shulamit, nice to see you. I have questions that I'll start off by answering, but let me just, for those of you who are new, I'll just start off with a few simple ground rules. Well, first of all, let me announce that as of today, for those of you who don't know, I committed to doing 30 videos in 30 days. I never imagined I could do that. If you asked me a year ago, I'd say, no way. Usually it takes me most of a week to get a video done. I mean, sometimes I can do 2 in a week, but there's research and script writing and then, of course, editing and all that kind of stuff. But I've been able to get all 30 videos done in 30 days. And today I released the 30th video, number 30. Yay! And let's see, we got in the chat. Oh, keep the beard. Thank you. One of the part of the challenge, I should say, was on the first day I shaved completely, which I usually had a little bit of a beard. And I agreed not to shave for 30 days. So this is 30 days worth of beard growing. I've never had a beard this long. And it's I would love to hear your opinion if I should keep the beard or shave or in between, you know, maybe a stubble, or I had the, I guess you call it a goatee thing for a while there too. When I was younger, I mostly had a goatee, but it all grew out gray. So I started getting a little shy to trim it properly. Anyway, I'd love to hear your opinion just for fun. I mean, bottom line is, I'll probably do what my wife tells me, and she's, as of now, hasn't stated her definite opinion. It's kind of wobbling, so I don't have any clear guidance on this. I appreciate it. Love your content. Thank you, Toby. I really appreciate that. Tim, yes, he's still married, yes, but the eyes are going. Fortunately, glasses work pretty good. Keep the beard. So there's a vote for keep the beard. So back to business. And thank you for all of you who have watched my 30 days and have left comments. And I really appreciate it. It really felt good to me just to hear people were interested and they thought they were both educational and entertaining. And it gave me energy to keep moving. I mean, every day I was up till 9, 10 o'clock at night, just trying to finish a video so I can go eat dinner. Go to bed, get up, and start thinking about the next video. So I'll be back to a regular schedule. I'll be making videos every Tuesday. We'll be doing the Real Guitar Live once a month. I'm on Thursdays right now. I could go back to Tuesdays. I'd love to hear your opinion, but I might leave it on Thursdays if that seems to be working for everybody. I'm going to answer your questions today. Leave them in the chat. Please start with something like, just a big word question would really help me out. I am looking over here and I can't really tell if it's a question or a comment unless I see something distinct. A big question would work. I know people who come in late won't hear that, but I'll keep looking over there. I'll definitely get to your question if it has a big question. And if I miss it, I'll give you time at the end to ask again to make sure I didn't skip over anybody. So at the end of this, I'm going to do a drawing, and all my students in Real Guitar Success, my Real Guitar Success program, is complete each month a 20-lesson practice plan, I call it. And it's basically 1 lesson a day that presents a concept and then gives you a chance to practice it along with play along tracks. So people who have completed it in 20 days, I made a little game out of it. They get entered into a drawing, and I give away a $50 Amazon gift card. So every month, somebody gets this Amazon gift card. But everybody's a winner who has completed the 20 lessons or even did some of them, because even doing a handful of lessons will both keep you interested and give you new things. Part of the reason I do this is to throw new things that you wouldn't just go for in terms of lesson. You see, when you go through lessons, you're usually either going in order or you're picking something you think you were interested in. But there's a lot of stuff you don't know that you don't know. And this way, each month, I present lessons for things that you may not have known to ask for or to look for. And inevitably, there's things that you go, yeah, this is really great. You can save them and come back to them later if you want to work more on it. Or it gives you more questions to ask, more information to be able to know what you don't know and what's possible. So I hope people who are not part of my Real Guitar Success membership will at least check it out. I'm doing a 2-week free or $1 trial, close to for free. And you can't lose. I mean, I have no hard feelings if you try it and it's not for you, but a lot of people find they don't really know what they're missing until they check it out. It's at realguitarsuccess.com. That's the first time I've done a commercial on this. Wasn't that bad. So I'm going to start answering questions. I'll start with what is on the paper, not on paper anymore, on the screen, and keep answering your questions. I'll keep looking over there and start answering questions as they come up. The first one is, Patricia says, great strums. She's learning a number of different strums in the Real Guitar Success program. How do you know where to use each one? This is not a new question, but it's, I need to answer this in different ways, actually. Are strums used? What about considering something in 3/4 time and 4/4 time? So it's a great question. And there's not one answer I can give you because a lot of it has to do with developing a repertoire of strums, using them in different contexts, and then getting an idea of what fits. Now, there is one thing that's very clear. In most popular music, the basic strum is a must. And as important as doing the basic motion is developing a sense of timing. So the basic strum is this, just down, down, up, down, up, down, up. That's probably its simplest form. That's in 4/4 time. And for those of you who don't know what that means, 4/4 time it's called a time signature. It's just for rhythm purposes, it means there's 4 beats or pulses in each measure. So this is 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So you want to have that basic strum under your belt. And the trick is not to just be able to do it, but to be able to use it in a song. When you use it in a song, you need to learn over time to feel where the 1 is, because that'll tell you if you're where you are in the song. So I'm going to use a G chord now. 1, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's part of learning timing. And the other part, of course, has to do with dealing with the chords, is being able to change on time. And a lot of people, when they're playing on their own, they slow down to get to the next chord so they can change. And over time, you want to even that out. Now, here's sort of the next level to that. When I'm strumming, like I use this basic strum all the time, but a lot of people don't realize it's the same strum because I'm adding some embellishments. And the subtle embellishments are not fancy fingerpick or anything. It's hitting the different sides of the strings, the low and the high at different times, and hitting harder and softer. So listen, down, down, up, down, up, down, up. That's pretty straight, pretty even. Now here's how I actually play that strum. Down. Or some version of this. This is not the only version. See, I changed up right there. So certainly that's more advanced and it takes time. And you can see it's kind of like driving a stick shift. I'm sure anybody close to my age remembers stick shifts. It wasn't just a matter of some explaining to you how it works. You had to do it for a while and get the feel of it. And then even each car had a little slightly different feel. But once you got the hang of it, you knew what you were looking for. It's the same with strumming in that somebody can't just tell you go down and up and it sounds good. You have to work it for a little while and feel it. Try it in the song, listen to songs, hear what they're doing, keep coming back. And little by little, it gets smoother and easier. And your rhythm tends to straighten out in the same process. If it's not, you want to do some practice with a metronome or something you have to keep time in. Otherwise, some people get the habit of slowing down and speeding up and they don't realize it. So that was 4/4 time. Now you can do the same strum, But in 3/4 time, that means 3 beats per measure. We'll just use the top number for rhythm purposes. So that would be 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and with a little embellishment or a little feeling to it, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 1. You see me hitting the bass note, but it doesn't have to be the bass note. It could be just the lower strings, or it could be the bass note. That's kind of the polka strum or waltz, da, 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 3/4 time. So those are the foundation, and I would recommend for most people, if you're in the early stages, really dig into that and get used to using that basic strum before you start adding too many fancy strums. It's okay to, add some embellishments or some. Here's probably the next embellishment. It'd be skipping a beat. Down, down, up, down. Listen, down, down, up, down, down, up, skip, up, down, up, down, down, up, skip. That gives it more of a pop feel. Well, I'm running down the road, listen my road, Eagles use that strum all the time. Down, down, skip, down. It's the same strum with one little beat skip I pass over the strings. And again, those are written down, and I'd be glad to also put a link if anybody's interested to some lessons on this mechanics of that strum. I even have a lesson that talks a little bit more about that feeling part I was talking about. Now, and actually, so let's say you've developed a repertoire of strums. Let's say just a half a dozen different strums, maybe 4 or 5 and 4/4 time, and a couple simple strums and 3/4. This is bass. That would be a nice simple 3/4 time, or down, down, up, down. Probably that's enough to start with. I don't know exactly a formula. I don't think there is one, quite frankly. When I am learning a song, I will listen to the music and try out a strum and see what fits. If I'm not doing the exact strum that the artist is doing, I'm usually going to be able to fit one of these very basic some version of this into any kind of pop, folkish type song. And then I might play the song and see how it feels. And once you have a repertoire, even a half a dozen, you could try a few and see which one seems to sound better. One of the ways you can start expanding is to listen to songs and try to imitate the strum that artist is doing. Now, keep in mind, when an artist actually plays a song, they're not going one strum all the way through the song. They're often changing the strum in different parts of the song, and even within the same part, they'll use little variations of it. I never play the same strum over and over. My finger caught in the string. Anyway, you have to start with a pattern, but as time goes on, don't expect to listen to a song and hear the exact same pattern over and over and over. I think most people know that, but I thought I'd make sure and say that. And you develop a sense that gets easier and easier over time. As you do that, you listen to a song and say, oh, yeah, I know. That sounds very much like this other song I did 2 weeks ago, and I know that same strum is going to work. And that'll, little by little, start sinking in. The more you listen to music and try to just imagine what strum, that actually helps even before you touch your guitar. And I would recommend everyone listen to music and kind of imagine what kind of strum I would use if I wanted to play that song, even before you start trying it on your guitar, and then check it out with your guitar. If it's a song you want to learn, then maybe find it on YouTube and try playing along with it. I know it's a little complicated because you got to learn the chords and everything too to play along with it. It's not as simple as just start strumming. You could just forget the chords and just try to find a beat. So if a song's playing along, I might try to find what beat seems to fit the song. Some songs, by the way, this is a good thing to watch out for now that I think of it. They use a little different rhythm pattern called a shuffle, especially blues, but a fair amount of country. They call it a country shuffle. It's instead of straight down, this would be like a straight strum. A shuffle has a lilt to it, down, down. So you want to make sure and learn at least one shuffle strum so you get that feeling as part of your repertoire. Down. Some people count it like this, so I don't think it's really accurate. 1, 2, no, I'm sorry. 1 E and no. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, like a wheel in thirds. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's not exactly accurate, but I get it kind of feeds the mind a little bit. Really, in the long run, you want to feel it. And you get that feeling by trying it, by listening to songs, trying it again. At least that's how I got it. In school, I tried to analyze it and think it out. A lot of school was like that in college. And it was, I don't know, it just never clicked. But then when I just tried listening to songs and feeling it was the songs, it clicked and became a part of me. And now it just comes really easy. Maybe it wouldn't have been so easy if I didn't analyze it first. I can't really say, but I know just thinking it out didn't really work, didn't really get the feeling. Maybe it's different for you. So that's a lot on strumming, but it's an important part of playing guitar is strumming. I mean, certainly you want to learn some chords, but if you know a half a dozen chords, a handful, and some good strums, and you have a good feeling for the strums, you can play a heck of a lot of music. I mean, with literally 3 chords, you could play a heck of a lot of music. If it's, you have a good strum and a feel for the music, it'll sound good. You can have dozens and dozens of chords, and if you sound stiff, nothing sounds right. Strumming is important. Getting a sense of the timing and the rhythm is important. And most songs are 3/4 and 4/4. There is also a 6/8 timing. That would be something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. And that would be your next popular strum. There are some others, but those 3 take up 90% of popular music, and the 3/4 and 4/4 take up probably 80%. There's only some ballads, maybe 10, 20, maybe 20% of 6/8, depending on what era you're listening to. So I like that 6/8 strum, and I certainly recommend it. Okay, now, next question. I understand, this is from Shulamit. I understand from your lesson, the skinny on chords, that it is possible to use open chords not only in standard position, but in other positions in the neck. So she's saying things like this. You can make a C chord, and you can actually move it up and make a chord right there. This is some form of D. I don't know the exact name because it's got a few open. This high E is open, and might be something like D, E, D add 2 or something like that. Doesn't matter to me. I've never had to worry about it. And you can play like E. It makes a chord. I don't actually know the name of that chord, or you could make a bass note here and move it around. So technically it's open because there's some open strings. I would say and she's asking, are there other chords like this that you can play sometimes? So first of all, there are open chords that you could try in different positions. I know a number, but it's not really useful because you can't use them in a lot of situations. I would basically learn them as the situation came up, or experiment, see if you're composing. I know Shulamit likes to write her own songs. My tongue wasn't keeping up to my mouth. And I can relate to that. I write a lot of music. And I just experiment. I came up with a chord. Oh, I love that sound. And this one, I don't know the names of these exactly. I could guess. This is an A, probably add 2 or something. A7. I could figure it out. And in fact, I think I did it one time and just forgot because I never have to say the name. But, then I try to use those chords. And I think the process is more important than just saying, oh, there's all these chords. And sometimes I'll see somebody else play a chord and I'll try it out. And sometimes I'll see something in the book or something. But for the most part, I like to play around and see what sounds good to me and then try to create a progression around it. But then there are movable chords. And I want to make sure there's that distinction because I wasn't clear from the question. Movable chords are like, you could say, this is kind of a hybrid. I'm moving the bass note and a lot of the chord, but there are a few open strings. And it makes a different sound everywhere I move because those open strings stay the same. And then there are like anything like this. This is actually a movable chord. She mentioned the D7. And really, even though it looks like there's open strings, there's not, because I'm actually deadening out those open strings. This chord is a movable chord. With E7 now, there's no open strings really, even though you can't see it just looking at it at first glance. And of course, then there's bar chords, which are all movable. Once you put a bar on it, it makes the nut move around. So that's a G, A, B, C, and so on. Movable chords. There's a lot of movable chords in jazz that don't look like bars, stuff like this. Okay, I think I'll stop there. That's sort of the best I can do right now. And Shulamit, feel free to ask if I didn't quite get the question, or if there's something else about that, just to ask in the chat, and I'll go into it again towards the end. Let's take a look at the chat. Let's see. So Duncan has the first question here. How do you use the circle of fifths? So for those of you who are not familiar with it, first of all, I'm going to say right off, I don't really. I understand the concept, and I think in some ways I use it without thinking about it. But the circle of fifths, some people use it to memorize the, we call them key signatures, how many sharps or flats are in the beginning of each song. Some people, basically a circle of fifths is a circle, and it shows the chords, and then each of the chords, when you go up a fifth, it tells you what the next chord is. So C, D, E, F, G, the fifth is G, G, A, B, C, D is the next fifth, and so on. And it goes all the way through flat chords as well, which I really don't use on the guitar very much. In school, a lot of people that did use it were using it to memorize the key signatures. If you're not reading music, that's marginal. I use the concept of circle of fifths by just remembering to go up a fifth, to remember for things about the guitar, like the popular keys of the guitar. So for an example, I know I can count up the popular keys starting with the E chord, E, F, G, A, no, I'm sorry, starting with the C chord, C, D, E, F, G, G, A, B, C, D, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. Those are the 5 most common keys for guitar. Starting with C, just count up C, D, E, F, G, count up. And I am going up the circle of fifths. I don't see it as a circle myself, but I'm going up the circle of fifths, counting up 5. C, D, E, F, G, G, A, B, C, D, D, E, F, G, A. And I also use just the idea of going up a fifth to know what the fifth chord in any key is. If I'm playing in a key, the fifth chord is one to keep track of, because it sort of establishes the sound of the key. Now, I am sure, Duncan, I am sure there are people who are into music theory that have all kinds of theories of what the circle of fifth is, and probably dozens and dozens of different uses that it can be used for. I don't know what they are. And I did go to school and study music theory, and quite frankly, I thought when I got out of school, looking back on it, we spent much too much time talking and thinking about music instead of playing and listening and feeling what works and what doesn't work. To some degree, that's the nature of school, huh? And I think that education helped me in using it. But personally, I'm not too interested in all the permutations or reasons, things for using the circle of fifth. But if it's something, I mean, I know it's, for some people, it's just like a puzzle. I would recommend searching on YouTube for videos on circle of fifth and see what other people say. And I have watched some of them, and pretty much that's what I'm telling you. I found that's useful for me, and the rest I just leave it. You do have me interested, though. I'm probably going to go look up again, see if it's something that I just didn't think of. That's interesting. Let's see, another question. Shulamit says the 30-day videos are great. Thank you, Shulamit. I appreciate that. Question on strumming. Do you vary which strings you strum depending on the song? So rather than strumming all the chords of the time. So good. This is a good add-on to what I was talking about. I was talking about strumming and hitting the different strings. When I'm straight down strumming, it's not per song. I'm just going to see what strum sounds good. And a lot of them, I could use any variation and it sounds fine. As a matter of fact, what I'll usually do is kind of use a standard one and then mix it up as I go along the song. It's not so much the song I want to create kind of a crescendo and some movement in the song. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, that said, there are some songs where I'm going to use a bass note. And that's a little different. Now I'm gonna distinctly hit the bass note on the downbeat of each chord in that song, if that's the type of song, polka, waltz, or something that's trying to create that sound. For the most part, it's not based on a particular song, but rather the type of strum that I'm using just varies a lot. Which part of the string I hit varies as I go through the song to create kind of crescendo and decrescendo, or kind of a little more action, a little less action. Okay, when science speaks. Okay, question on the pick: is there an appropriate way to hold, or how hard do you hold onto the pick? Yes, this is a good one. When I play, it often sounds better when I don't use the pick. Well, that's okay. I use both fingers and pick. So for me, there's not one right way to use the pick or fingers. I do tend to use the fingers in certain situations and pick in others. I'll just briefly outline that. When I'm using a nylon string guitar, I almost always use fingers. I don't use a pick on nylon string. On the steel string guitar, I mostly use a pick because I want the projection and the volume that I get out of a pick and the clarity. Without the pick, it sounds, for me, a little soft. Muffled, soft. Sometimes that sounds what I want, but most of the time not. Most of the time I want it out there. I want the crispness to come through, and the pick creates that crispness. And it probably, if it sounds better to you, it could be partly just preference, but it could be that you're not used to using a pick. If you don't use a pick properly, it sounds like this. Oh, I'd rather use my fingers. Yes, thumb, something. Trick to using a pick. And there's not one right way to hold it. I'll tell you what I do is I take my first knuckle of my first finger on the right hand, put the pick on top, clamp the thumb over, put my hand so it's pretty well parallel, and that in and of itself will produce a harsh sound. Now I twist my wrist slightly so it smoothens out. I'm also moving my arm as I move. I twist the wrist. The one other thing that I'm doing that you can't see is I am pressing a little harder on the back part of the pick with my thumb. I'm rolling it back slightly so that the pick wobbles a little bit, but I have to press somewhere so it doesn't fall out. So that allows me to wobble a little bit more. It's a subtle thing. It's not a hard place that I'm pressing, but that allows me to get a smooth strum. And part of that's practice too, to not dig in so much. But I need that motion in the pick to smooth it out. I'm using a medium pick here. You might want to start with a thin pick if you're just starting out. Thin pick's easier to get a smoother strum, and most students do start with a thin. Unless you're playing melody, that's why I like a thicker pick, because when I'm playing melody, the thin pick wobbles too much, and I can't get to the next note on time. It's a small delay. So use a pick and learn to use a pick, and then decide if you like with your fingers or a pick better. By the way, if you are using a nylon, let me at least demonstrate what I'm talking about. It's a different technique. Now I can create that same sound, but I'm using the outside of my thumbnail and the outside of my fingernail, and I'm turning my hand. So as I go down, I'm using my nail on the outside. It's not a fleshy thing. And then I twist my hand up, and the thumbnail is on the up. Now that's a particular rumba strum, but even if I was using a pop strum, I'm still doing that, the nail part. So see, I get some of that crispness out of the nylon string, but that also allows me to use my fingers, and then I can go right into strumming. notice I have a little pick here because I do use a pick. More for melodies. Okay, good. We're talking about strumming today, picks and strumming. How do you use the circle of fifths? Oh, I got that, Duncan. Keep the beard. Okay, thanks, Thomas. Thomas says, keep the beard from Scotland. I am used to it now. At first, it felt weird, but I'm used to it now. I guess it's anything you get used to. If you if you deal with it long enough, you just get used to it. How do I improve chord transitions to be more fluid? This, first of all, let me say, and this is a question from Thomas. This is common. Every person that's come to my music school that's been playing for a while and says, I want to take lessons, I listen to them. And one of the things that they have in common is they have a hard time changing chords, both on time and smoothly without fumbling. And most people, I mean, a lot of people, I don't know if most, but a lot of people slow down a little when they're trying to change chords, and they get so used to it, they don't even realize they're doing it anymore. They don't think they're slowing down. When I teach students, it's very common with self-learners because it seems easier, and I understand this perfectly, it's easier to track how many chords you're learning and fingering than it is to track how well you're actually using the chords in a progression, I'll say. A simple progression would be just one chord to another chord. And what I have students do deliberately is learn a few chords and stick on those chords so they can at least reasonably change from one to the other. Not just learn chord, 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 chord. Because it's really hard to go back once you know a bunch of chords mentally, to go back and say, gee, I have to just work on these two chords and get in time. Then I have them practice. Well, first of all, I have them practice the chord so that they can get to that chord quickly and easily. I use a simple technique of just giving them a timing with their hands. Start with the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's because I notice most people have a hard time changing chords. They don't really know each of the chords well enough. In other words, they're trying to change from one chord to the other, but they can't even finger that individual chord well enough by itself to add it to a song or a progression. So, and really have them work on the individual chord so they can get there with some pressure. And I'm not talking perfect, but I mean, like, get to where you go 1, 2, and the chord sounds decent. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can and do that for a number of days until, then the next chord. Then add them together. Start very slowly changing from one to the other, no time. And just slowly see what it takes to move the fingers to the right place. Then add some timing, maybe a metronome. A metronome makes it easy for me to keep a beat. 1, 2, 3. Now, make myself actually change right on the beat. 1, 2. Depending on the chord and the situation, you might want to up a little bit instead of keep upping the speed until you have to change faster. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Add the third chord. Do the same thing. Then try 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then try playing a song with those chords. Now, under controlled conditions, you can change. Now add some rhythm or some strumming or they're trying to keep track of where you're in the song, all these other little things that go along with playing a song. In other words, you keep adding layers of things you have to keep track of rather than everything all at once, and you don't know what to pay attention to. I hope that helps. Of course, what I normally do with students is I give them progressive material to do that. You can do it yourself, and I have done it myself in situations where I'll just make up my own exercise and start with simple chords and then add another layer of complexity. It gets easier as you do it and you see it worked with one and you kind of get the idea of that pattern or template. Same with if you have lessons. If a teacher works with you on that, once you've done it with a few chords, you can kind of get the idea how that's going to work with adding more chords. Good question. Okay, question. I have a song, this is Shulamit, that the verse ends with E minor and the chorus begins with E minor. How can I make a transition from the verse to the chorus so it sounds interesting? Okay. So she's talking about Shulamit, and I tell me if I'm wrong. She's creating a song. She's composing a song, because otherwise, whatever sheet music or whatever you're listening to is going to tell you what to do in between the chorus and the verse, right? So if you're making your own song, you got to decide. The most common by far way of doing this is this song she's describing. If the verse and the chorus start in E minor, it's probably in the key of E minor. You go to the 5 chord in between and then start the next thing. So here's an example. I'll pretend this is the verse. I don't know what song she's talking about, so I'll make something up. Right? That's the 3 chords in E minor that establish the key: E minor, A minor, B7 I used. The 5 chord, B7. So na 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 na, E minor, right? Now I'm going to go to the chorus. That was the chorus. Here's the verse. I just made that song up, but that sounds like a verse and sounds like a chorus, right? See, I just used the 5 chord to transition from one and get back to the same chord. And that is very common in most styles of music. Now, beyond that, it varies tremendously depending on the style of music, your personal taste in your style of music. There is no formula, except that I know of that particular one to go from a verse into a chorus. And for a lot of pop songs, they just jump right into the chorus and then they jump right into a verse. But the verse and the chorus are made such that they're different enough. Let's say this the right way. You don't have to question whether it's something different. They're different enough to where you can tell you're in a different part of the song, both because of the melody and the chords. And what Shulamit's describing starts with the E minor in both cases. So probably a good idea to use something to get into the next part. Okay, next question. This is from Tim. As a new player, been playing for 8 months, and at age 64, I can relate, I find I have absolutely no stretch between my pinky and index finger, between the pinky and the index finger. Yes, that's very common. When I reach for more than the high E string. Oh, he says on the high E string, it's better, but any other strings, it's harder. As I close my hand, they both point to the center area in my palm. Any stretching exercise to help with this? I'm not sure I get that center thing. Yes, and first of all, I really encourage stretching exercises. I do stretching exercise every day. I have a bunch of stretching exercises, and I never do all of them, and I probably don't do as many as I should, but I always do when I practice. I can say pretty much this one here. See, I'm stretching the muscles here because that's what seems to cause me the most trouble when I'm playing, a stiffness in these muscles right here. And the full exercise is like this, and then you hold it for 20 seconds. That's what I hold it for. You can, of course, hold it as long as you want. 30 seconds, minutes probably long, but so I'm doing this 2 times each and then holding it. It feels good, even just doing it. And then the other one I often do is because sometimes I get tightness in the thumbs here. So that would be a good stretching exercise for what you're describing. But there's another thing you should know. A lot of students have a problem with the pinky because of how they place their hand. They put their hand in such a way like this that there's no way I could even stretch my pinky beyond there. And I got my hand like this. You're going to have much more reach if you move your thumb this way behind the neck, pretty much straight up. Now, that would be perfect, but closer to this way in the back of the guitar. And so that when you clasp your fingers, they're going into your thumb. The guitar just happens to be in between. So here's what I'm doing. Wait, how's it go? Yeah, there, like that. Only with a bend, huh? There. I want some bend. If it's flat, that's no, I'm really weak there, but with the bend, oh, I can feel the strength. So I'm doing this. This is, people have been playing for a while. I've seen people who come to me have been playing for years still have the same issue. Their hand position is keeping them from stretching and sometimes creating pain. So when I do this, I put my finger down. It doesn't have to be dead center in the hand. I put my finger down. My finger, first finger, can stretch much easier. Like this, I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't get beyond the third fret. Even the second, that's a strain. So that's the first and most important thing to watch for. Then the other thing is to do a guitar stretching exercise on your guitar. Here's the one that I usually use to start people with the pinky. And I do it on the 5th fret. So it's 1 fret each. Not right, a fairly common exercise. So to make it stretch, to work on stretching, I try to leave my fingers down as I put the pinky down instead of this, right? Because now I'm not stretching between here. Go slow. Now it's stretching. It's actually not a stretch for me, but it was at one time. Go slow. If you do it on the 5th fret, it's easier than if you do it down here. Then when that gets to be fairly easy, you keep moving it down 1 fret at a time. And as you get down here, it's more of a stretch. There's more distance. I would recommend this exercise warming up every day or something like it. Start here, and you can always vary it with another exercise. You need to warm up anyway. And that's another thing I should say, warm up before you start practicing your guitar. Also, if you make a regular routine of practicing, you're going to have a much better time stretching your hand than just every once in a while. And again, I don't know your situation, but I know there are people in a situation where they'll practice, leave the guitar go for 3 days, come back and say, oh, you know, they do that over and over, and it doesn't really help in terms of stretching. You need to stretch regularly. You know, when they tell you to do physical therapy, you have to do it every day, sometimes 2 and 3 times a day. It doesn't work to do it once and then wait 3 days and come back. Your muscles just go back to where they were, and you keep going back and forth. That's probably one of the biggest tips I can give you is practice a little bit on the guitar every day and do that warm up and then do other things. Yeah, when you're 20s, I wouldn't worry about it, but we're not in our 20s, are we? Okay, next question. Oh, the pinky finger, Tim. Yes, the famous pinky. Let me get over there. Okay, good. Tim says, I've been really working on that, developing my pinky finger, but can only do a small amount each day or it ends up being sore. And I hate ice packs. More stretches? Good question. I've never tried ice packs. Okay. Learned something new myself. A little bit each day is good. That's what I would say about these. If you're having a hard time, like with a pinky or developing a muscle, do a little at a time. Overdoing it and making yourself sore just makes it hard to do it the next day and the next day. Do a little at a time. And I'm talking, 2 to 3 minute exercise. But maybe if you want to up your progress, try it twice a day. One earlier in the day and one in the afternoon kind of thing, or, depending on your schedule. If you're busy all day, maybe do morning and night, that kind of thing. I found that I've made a lot of progress with things that were hard for me by doing them a little at a time, twice a day instead of just once a day, and I've improved my progress. And yes, do the stretching. Start off with stretching before you do your pinky exercise. Then go very slowly and consciously with the pinky exercise. I don't know which one you're using, but I have a lot of students using exercise like this, pinky exercise, pinky up. And that's where, then they go on the next string. That was one of the lessons in my 30-day coaching series. So if you're interested in that, look up the pinky strengthener or the pinky exercise in the 30-day coaching series. Little every day, maybe twice a day. Give it a try. And give it time. It's not going to happen in 2 or 3 days. Give it time. It'll work. I haven't seen it not work if somebody who's done it consistently over time. How to decide, oh, so we just talked about that. How to decide on the right strumming pattern for a song. So that was the first question we answered, John, and I won't go back over it, but I will make a recording of this and you can go back and listen to the very first question I answered in this series. Shulamit, this is interesting. Maybe everybody'd like to see this. She, in the case where she went from the verse to the chorus, she used an E sus4. That would be my version of E sus4. I'm sure there's other versions of it, but that's what I know of an E sus4. Okay, let me try that. E, this establish the key. It works fine. It's different. I probably wouldn't go there, but that's part of the thing, preference. And what sounds good to you is important. I would say if it sounds good to you, use that. But if you're not 100% sure, try a few different things and then pick what sounds best. That's at least my process. That's what I do. I'll try many different things. And I'll even record and listen back the next day. One thing you have to watch for, at least as a composer myself, is when I practice and play a song over and over and over and over, I get used to it. And my mind starts assuming that's the way it should sound, even if that's not my best chord progression or melody. So I've learned to work it for a while, maybe make a recording of it at least. I will forget. That's one thing I've learned the hard way, even though it doesn't seem like I will. And then listen to it the next day and see if it still sounds as good to me as it did the day before. Often I find, oh, there's a little more room to try something new the next day because I'm not so hard fixed on that thing I've been doing over and over and over and over and kind of drilled into my mind. That's a composing tip, I would say. And I have one more question for today. It's, I'm learning jazz. Oh, good for you. This is Thomas again. So my transitions are shell chords. I don't know the term shell chords. I'm sorry. Not open chords, not open end. And there seems to be loads of change. I suppose I use your response and practice in small groups of 3. Oh, he's talking about the transition problem. I don't know the word shell chords, but I think you're right that practicing groups of 3 and being able to just break it. In general, the concept is to break down what you're having a problem with into a small denominator and then build it up little by little. This works with reading music. Take one measure at a time. Take the second measure, play the 2 together, get the transition between the 2 measures. This works with chords. If you're transitioning between half a dozen chords, get 2 that are maybe causing you trouble, work the transition a little at a time, maybe for days, and then add the 3rd chord and keep working at it. Keep putting it back into the whole thing and see where you're at, but break it down to a small, manageable piece without so much going on. Simplify rhythm. If you have a rhythm going on, try just doing straight down until you can change straight down, then add the rhythm back in. Keep looking for where you can break it down to a simpler and then add back up. This works for all aspects of music. Okay, thanks for composing. Thanks for the composing tip. I agree. Thanks for the composing tip. You're very welcome, Shulamit. And at the end of our questions for today, and I'm going to do our drawing for now. If you do think of a question while I'm doing this, feel free to add it to the end. And also, if I missed your question, I think I got all the ones that said question, but I could be wrong. Just add it again to the end quickly, and I'll see it just before I close up for today. So now this is the drawing for the people who have completed the practice sessions for the month of, what do we got? August, right? And they have, it shows on my software that they've completed the 20 practice sessions, and then I've entered them into a drawing. Let's see, I got them all folded in little pieces of paper. Let's pull one out. I wish I had an assistant to do that, but that's okay. Here we are. And Pat, you are the winner. Pat, I will be sending you a $50 Amazon gift card. And congratulations to everybody who's in there. I can't see who it is right now because you are a little better guitar player than you were last month. Let's see. Any more questions before I close up? Dave says 2ASG. I don't know what that means. If you want to explain more, I'll give you a minute or so. Way to go, Pat, Tim says. Yes, way to go. Congratulations. Any clarification, Dave, before I close up for today? 2ASG. Do you guys get confused when like the kids write these things like, OMG, I got that one finally. Oh my God. But there's going to be texts with little characters. I don't know what they mean. I feel so out of it. I don't know if that's one of those or if it's something to do with music. Anyway, I think we're going to have to close up for today. Dave, I don't see any clarification on that. Tim says, thanks, Thomas. Take care. And thanks, all of you. Question. Oh, show chords are seventh chords. Using only 3 notes. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that, Thomas. I really appreciate that. I try to learn something new every day, and I usually am successful. I appreciate that. And Duncan says, thanks. Thanks, all of you, for being here. It's a pleasure, and I am honored to be able to offer what I've learned and hopefully some information that will save you guys some of the trouble I went through to learn it, but as well as I got a lot of help when I was growing up and learning guitar, and I'm happy to be able to pass it on to others. In Malagueña, section 8, notation. I have no idea, Dave. Yeah, I don't even remember what section 8 is right now. Anyway, I'm going to close up for now. See you all next month. Take care. I'm going to shoot for the first Thursday of next month, and I will send you an email to remind you. Bye for now.